Hi, I have never done this before, and for whatever reason, I'm nervous when I'm literally talking to a camera. Um, I'm not gonna tell my name because I kind of want this to just be about the story, and I'm not gonna use names either to just respect the other people involved in the story. But as you can see, I am still living in my childhood home at the age of 28, and that's a really embarrassing shelf behind me now that I'm realizing it. But you know what? Fuck it, because this is the reality of the story, and I've watched so many other people's stories that have influenced me. So I figured maybe my story would help somebody too. Maybe more people would be able to relate to mine, because I don't meet many people like me, but when I do, they're like, oh my god, where have you been? And the same goes for how I feel about them. So, here we go. So it all happened back in 2012, and I was 22 and straight as an arrow. I was actually called boy crazy. That was kind of like the whole joke about me when I was in high school and in college. I was always flirting and trying to find a new crush. That was just how it was. I was in a long-term relationship for about 6 years with a boy. I like to blame that on my youth and maybe not on myself, just because when you're 15 you think you're supposed to have a boyfriend, and then I just stayed because, I don't know, you get comfy. So fast forward to senior year of college, said long-term boyfriend finally transferred to a school very far away from me, and kind of felt like he saved my life by doing that because I didn't realize how much I hated him until he left. So I very much enjoyed my senior year of college. I don't drink at all, but I was amongst people who did, and I had a friggin' blast. And I blamed it on being really shy throughout college, and like, this is why I don't have like a group of friends. But it was mostly because I was letting him hold me back from being myself. So, had a great time, graduated, and then I signed up for a year of service. Not knowing what the hell that entailed, I just didn't know what to do with my life for a career, so I kind of took the plunge. Never left my home state, really, besides going to like neighboring states for vacation, because that's what people in my part of the country do. And this was taking me pretty far away, and I was excited about it, which was unlike me because I don't like change, or I used to not like change at all. So I got there, it was the first day, you meet everybody, and I hadn't met my roommates yet. I had actually walked into my room and found that one of my roommates was already asleep. It was like in the afternoon. I'm like, great, I have a loser for a roommate. And that's just gonna screw up my year. So I forced myself to be extroverted, and I went out and I met a bunch of people that day. And then we had something at night where we got to meet the other people we were gonna be working with. And I met my roommate, and she's still my best friend today. So she was not a loser. She's fantastic. It's just funny how you create first impressions of people. So I had one more roommate to meet, and I had already created an impression of her based just off of her name. I was like, oh, girls with that name, they suck. They're bitches. I'm gonna hate her. And I had jumped into the shower after bonding with my other roommate over boy stories, because that's just what I did. And I'm in the shower and I hear this voice in the other room. And I'm like, oh, the third roommate must be here. Oh boy, here we go. Shit. This is what happens when you're 28 and you live at home. People come home and then you don't have alone time. I'm going to continue this when I'm more alone. Take 2. After being interrupted by the mother. So, I was talking about the third roommate finally entering. So, I'm just getting out of the shower. I've got my towel on, my towel around my head, and I hear her voice, and I just feel this energy. And I go out and come face to face with her, and I was like, oh, you must be so-and-so. And I said her full name, because that was the name on the door. She's like, no, this is my name, which was her nickname. So then she's like, and you must be so-and-so, saying my full name. That sounds like a 90-year-old woman. It's like, no, this is my name. And that's where it started off. And we bonded right away, which shocked the hell out of me because she was awesome. Like, one of those really awesome, cool girls, like, tomboy, but gorgeous, with like a really good heart and super laid back and chill, but like always down for a good time. Just like everything a shy girl like me is looking for in a friend, in anything. And I would play back that first day in my mind. Her with her basketball shorts and white v-neck and her Converse, super tan from her summer on the river, hair in a messy ponytail, and just unpacking and like moving around, and with her accent. She had an accent from where she was from and raspy voice. And I remember sitting on my bed and thinking, holy shit, she's super hot. And I just wrote it off as, I just want to be friends with the cool girl. Like, I've never been good friends with the cool girl. The cool girl has never liked me. I'm average, and I'm vanilla, and I'm shy. I'm not outgoing, I'm not a partier, and this is my chance to be best friends with the cool girl. She's my roommate, I'm gonna take advantage of that. But even so, we bonded anyways, and the way we would talk for hours, and I was so afraid of losing her the moment she came into my life, because I just felt like I didn't deserve her, because she was so much better than me. And the friendship just blossomed, and it was texting all day, every day, and FaceTiming, and then it started getting more flirty, and calling each other babe, and complimenting each other a lot. And I just thought that it was our bond and our connection, but she would say these wonderful things to me about how she'd never been herself with anybody else, and how vulnerable I made her feel in a good way, that she could totally be herself. And I was just like, I don't know, I just see you. And I always saw her from the beginning. And she's like, no one's ever seen me before. And I'm like, how can they not? How do they not see what I see? And I was just always able to read through her and read her like a book. I mean, she would come off as like super chill and like the party girl and always down for a good time, but I could see her insecurities and how she played them out by being that person. And that's what I was attracted to the most, because I wanted to be that person that she could be herself with. And that's how it always was, and I think that's what I was for her. And she was the person that would genuinely listen to me when I would talk. And I never realized I never had a friend like that. No one listens. She would listen, and then she would give feedback and like actually show that she had been listening. And she made me feel like the greatest person in the world. And I had never had a friend like that before, ever. And that's just what I wrote it off as. I'm like, never had a friend like this before. that's what this is. It's just a crazy, amazing bond. Until one day I found myself daydreaming about kissing her. And it freaked me out because I had never, ever thought about a girl like that before. And I was like, maybe it's just her, or it's the friendship. It's gotta be the friendship, right? Until a few months later, I was joking around with one of our mutual friends who was gay, and probably one of the first gay girls I had ever been friends with. Very similar to my girl, very tomboy, chilled, laid back. And they were good friends, and their teams happened to always be in the same location together. So my girl tended to make out with people when she would get drunk. So I was teasing this other girl, and I was like, "Come on, you two have made out, right? I mean, of course you have." Just trying to like get information out of her. And she's just like, "Her and I are in love. We've been like hooking up for months now." She's like, she wants to introduce me to her family. And it felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. Not because she had been lying to me, but because I was extremely jealous. I was like, you don't deserve her. I am so much better for her than you are. You're just this player asshole. Why would she choose you to be her first? And granted, I thought that my girl was gay the moment I met her, but she claimed to have a boyfriend in college, and I was like, hey, you know, that's up to her. I'm not going to assume just because I want to assume. So I texted my best guy friend, who I actually happened to be sleeping with at the time. It's a whole other thing, but him and I had a really good friendship where there was no judgment. So I texted him. I was like, hey, remember I told you, like, that I thought something was going on? I'm like, something is going on, and I'm not mad, I'm jealous. He's like, wait, what? So we spent the whole next day texting, and I was just like, it's okay to have feelings for a person, right? It's about the person. It's got to be about the person. I've never liked a girl before in my life. Like, what the hell's going on with me? And he was like, of course, it's about the person. That's okay. And that was the only time I really let myself freak out about it, and then I was super excited about being in love with someone, because I had never been in love with a person. I thought I had. You know, you infatuate about people, and I'd only liked guys, and this just made so much more sense to me. I was like, this is what I've been looking for. This is the feeling. With men, I never felt safe, and with her, she's my best friend, and I couldn't imagine a better situation. So, flash forward a few months, the flirtation has increased significantly via text. Mostly on her side. I kind of just played along because I wanted to see where she was standing on it. And then I finally told her, and she danced around it. And to this day, I don't know if she said yes because she didn't want to turn me down and then ended up turning into something anyways, or maybe she did and she didn't know it and it scared her. But it took months, and this was all long distance, all over text messages, because our teams were in completely different sides of the country. And there were some downsides, for sure. Her acting out of fear and freaking out, and me being like, hey, don't be a fucking douchebag. I mean, this is big to me too. Hello, boy crazy girl over here. So it turned into a relationship. And I've never loved another person like that before. I'm still afraid that I may never again. We dated for about 2.5 years, all long distance. And she was very secretive about us. Took a long time for her to tell certain friends, and it came down to me crying a lot and starting fights a lot because I was so sick of feeling like I was ashamed to her, and was mad at her for a while about it, but with all this time that's passed now, how can you be mad at someone that's afraid of being themselves? And it's just hard when you spend years working up to something, like finally we're gonna be together, I'm gonna get a job, I'm gonna get out there, and we're finally gonna be together, and we would just fantasize about it together all the time, and then it just came down to the time where it was almost gonna happen, and she freaked out and couldn't do it, and I was devastated. And even up till recently, I was still kind of devastated about it, because you fall in love with a person, and it's not so much about your first love, but it was my first girl love. When I had been such a certain person up until that point, I had never thought about my sexuality ever. I mean, I was crushing on boys from age 2. And then you meet someone and they change everything about your life and yourself, and there's been a lot of therapy, trying to get back out there, and dating is the worst. Dating's the worst. Just an overall consensus for me personally. I fucking hate it. Because how do you go from being with boys for 22 years of your life, falling in love with a girl, and thinking she's the one, and that's it, and you never have to look again? Not like you were even looking before. I mean, when something like that happens to you, when you didn't plan it, it just happened. How can you do it again? And that's where I've been at for 3 years now. How can you do that again when it was so good the first time, and there were so many problems too? You ignore the problems, and I think I still do to a certain point. I always over fantasize and romanticize a situation that wasn't perfect, but you bond with someone like that. So now I'm 28 and I'm still living at home, and living at home in a small town that you grew up in, where everybody's moved. I've got friends all over but here, and trying to figure out your sexuality all at the same time when you live in a house that your father doesn't really get it. We've never actually had the conversation. He found out about me and my ex just because it was obvious, and because he asked my mom and she told him, and that broke my heart too, because I'd rather have told him myself. But we've never talked about it since, and he thought it was a phase, and he still thinks it's a phase, because my mom and him will have a conversation about it, and he'll just be like, well, she's not a lesbian. She's not a lesbian. I was like, you know what? I'm fucked up about my own sexuality, trying to figure it out. I don't need you trying to say the same thing, because no, I don't feel like a lesbian. I fell in love with a girl, and it was amazing, and I want to do it again with the right person. And that's where I'm at right now. And I made this video because I recently read Alyson Stoner's article, and it was basically the same thoughts I've been having for 3 years now. It's just like, I don't like girls. I've liked a girl, but I don't know how to date girls. And I tried to get out there. I was on dating apps. I made friends with people and was invited into their groups of friends where they were all lesbians, and they had been known that they were gay since they were 12, and I'm the freak that comes in there that's like, I'm bi, no, because I don't want to date men or sleep with them, but I still find them attractive, but I want to be with a girl, but I don't know what type of girl I want to be with, because I've only been with one, and you're this inexperienced weirdo to them. And I had someone ask me when I went to this weekend away where it was like a lesbian weekend, and we were playing a drinking game, and this girl flat out in front of everybody asks me, what are you? I was so embarrassed, because I already felt like an outsider. And I want to be like, human? I'm human. And she's like, no, like, what are you? I was like, I don't like labels. I don't label myself, but I like girls. But then I say that and it feels weird coming out of my mouth, and because I never did like girls. I just fell for one of them. And just reading Alyson Stoner's article where she had the same thoughts. She was just like, oh, I love this person because of this, this, and this, and it's a person, and that's what it is, but just making up all these excuses, and she's like, please, anything but gay. And that's what it comes down to, and for me, I want to be able to 100% say that I'm gay and believe it. But I don't feel it when I say it. There's no relief. There's no, oh yes, this is what I've been holding in this whole time, because I've never thought that way before. But what it comes down to, the thing that I can make sense of, is I never want to sleep with a guy again. I can't imagine marrying one. And when I think about men and women being together as a couple, it doesn't make any sense to me, because they're so fucking different. The species are different. And just two girls, to me, is just so much more beautiful. And it just makes more sense, because when I was in it, it just made more sense. I was like, man, this is what I've been missing out on, and this is what I should have been doing, and the passion and the connection and the friendship and the understanding, and plus they're so much prettier. And they're not hairy. I mean, everyone's hairy, but like, men are really hairy. And I don't like that. I've never really liked it. And I thought I enjoyed sex with men, but then when you have sex with a woman, it's like, holy shit, this is so much better. I never want to go back. I tried. I cried. I actually cried when I tried to sleep with a man again. So if that doesn't say everything right there. So I've started to see a new therapist, and what we have come to the conclusion of within the first 4 sessions is that I am internally homophobic because of society. Because I grew up seeing princes and princesses, and men and women, and that is what you know, and you think that that's the way it's supposed to be. And I was never introduced to anything else until the moment I was in a place where I was in a safe bubble with an amazing group of 200 people, where literally it didn't matter. It was the joke that everyone went to the service here and all the girls came out gay, because a lot of them did. And me, the shocker of the century, did too, and I think it's because it didn't matter. No one judged. It was kind of just, it wasn't even a thought. It wasn't like, oh, you're gay now? Or were you always gay? It's like, oh, you like her? That's awesome. I like this person. Isn't that great? And it was just this safe bubble, and my therapist is like, it's like your filter was taken away, because it didn't matter. No one was judging, no one cared, everybody else was doing it, and it just came down to love. So, God, how many years ago was it? Got my first tattoo, probably in 2016. It's the equality sign, because the one thing that always made sense to me when I would kind of second guess who I was, her and I would always say love is love. And that was the thing that made the most sense to me. Love is love. It's just about love. Doesn't matter the gender. Although it does when it comes to sex. That's the confusing part. Like, it doesn't matter because it should be about the person, but I really don't like male genitalia. No offense to all you guys out there. I just don't. And maybe I am gay. still feels weird when I say it, but the whole point of this was to just say, hey, I used to be straight. And then I met a girl, and everything changed. And the sentence that struck me and made me cry in Alyson Stoner's article was, she messed everything up, but I wouldn't have it any other way. And I hear ya, because she messed everything up, but I wouldn't have it any other way. So, that is my coming out story, even though it's still happening, and I'm still figuring it out, but to all you confused girls out there that liked dudes and met a girl and fell in love with her, you're not the only one. So, at the end of the day, who the fuck cares? Be with who you want to be with. Thanks, guys.